we will get right into it. We're going to start off with the fight you just touched on a little bit. You were there live covering it for ESPN, like you said, in New Orleans, Louisiana, homecoming fight, last fight. Dustin Poirier, Max Holloway, trilogy, BMF belt on the line, and they lived up to it and then some. I thought your preview on television all week and even here last week on our podcast was spot on. You thought Max might start where he left off on the last fight 5 years ago, and that's what he did. He was in complete control, especially early on, dropping Dustin in the first round. But Dustin does what Dustin always does. He finds a way. And in the second round, he had his success. He drops Holloway, goes for the choke, the submission, and maybe Holloway is saved by the belt in the second round. Continued good action throughout. I thought Holloway was in control. I thought the right man did get the decision. But as always, unbelievable heart and guts displayed by both. Incredible fight. Last fight for Poirier. What'd you make of this one, bud?
Yeah. If Poirier don't come back. But see, we're the X-ray machine of combat sports. We give you everything. Where that normally anywhere else wouldn't even be mentioned, probably. You know, and look, it's supposed to be his last fight. God bless him. He's been so important to the sport, so important to the fans. He's given everything out. The first thing I say, but you never know. You never know. Because, you know, they come back. Because they miss it. And it's not just for the money. They miss the people. They miss the, you know, what's that line from Heat? That's a great movie, by the way, with De Niro and all those guys. That's a great movie. It's a great one. You see it yet, Rich? You got to add that to your list. That, it really is. It's spectacular. And he says, they ask De Niro, they got one more big job to do, one more big one to do. And he asks everybody, you in? Maybe you're better off not being in. This is a dangerous one. Maybe you're better off not being in. He goes down the line to all his guys. And he gets to the last guy. He goes, you in? He goes, for me, it's always about the juice.
Well, you know, for me, the action is the juice. I'm in.
I'm in. It's always about the juice. So, you know, same thing with the fighters that get out. It's about the juice. It's about being relevant. It's about, you know, it's about the fans. It's about the spotlight. It's about the camaraderie. I've had fighters where when they retired, they told me what they were going to miss the most was, believe it or not, even though it was a rigorous camp and was tough, the training camp, they missed the camaraderie. They missed the family unit, like their family, being together in a locker, in the training camp. So there's a lot of moving parts to it that sometimes the fans don't get their mind around, don't understand why these guys come back. But that's part of it. We'll see what happens. Dustin deserves to walk off into the sunset. He's had just a marvelous career, and he's done it the right way. He's cared about people. He's got a charity that takes care of people. They asked me after the fight, Bud. We did a lot of interviews, and you saw it on ESPN. And they asked me, what's the best way to describe Dustin? Because I'm going to start with the end, and then I'll work to the beginning. Because this is the end of his career. So I think this is the right way to start this show, and for me to articulate it. So after the show, somebody asked me, you know, with all the interviews we were doing, Bud, somebody asked me the obvious question: how do you wrap up, you know, what Dustin Poirier has been as a fighter? You know, how do you encapsulate that, you know? And I said, the only thing that made sense to me, what has he been as a fighter? He has been everything that you would want and you would hope would be embodied into being a good friend. If you have a good friend, what is it that you want? You want somebody you could depend on. Bang. That's Dustin Poirier to a T. He was always somebody you could depend on, you could trust. He was a good friend to all of us, where you knew every time he got in that cage, he was going to give his all. He was going to find a way, no matter how difficult, he was going to find a way to give himself the best chance to win. And he was going to leave it all. We hear these cliches, don't save anything for the locker room, and all of that. But he really lived it. He really did it. He didn't save anything for the locker room. Matter of fact, there were times he couldn't even get back to the locker room because he gave so much in the cage. To me, that is the career right there of Dustin Poirier. And I'll finish by saying thank you, Dustin. Thank you for teaching us all. I said this on one of the many interviews after the fight. I'll say it again. You were a teacher. You taught us all that there's always somewhere more to go. There's always something else in us if we're willing to go there. We might not know what it is. Matter of fact, I'm going to clarify that. We don't know. We don't know if there's anywhere else we can go. Matter of fact, I'll clarify it even clearer. We often doubt that there's anywhere else we can go. But he showed us that with the doubt, with the trepidation, with all of the fears, all of the unknowns, there's always somewhere else you can go if you're willing to go there. If you're just willing to take the chance to go there and find out how far you can go. And you will find out that, wow, I did go further. And I'm so glad that I went there. Even though it was dark, I found light. I had to go a little ways to find it, but I found it. And by finding that light, you found light for us. Again, you taught us there is light in darkness. You just have to be willing to go and search it out. Now, as far as the breakdown of the fight, I think I can make this one real succinct and clean and really get us through it pretty quick. You already touched on it. It started dramatically, not the way that you want a party, a going away party to go. not quite that way that you would draw it up, but that's what makes the UFC so great and boxing so great. You can't control those things. You don't know what's going to happen. It's always a chance it's going to be something unexpected. And sure enough, how does it start? It starts in the first wave by Max Holloway looking like he might actually end the career of Dustin Poirier with a first-round stoppage. He drops him. He has him in trouble. Now, how did he drop him? He dropped him with a straight right hand against the southpaw. Yes, that's the southpaw killer. But it was the delivery. Oh, you've heard me say it before, haven't you, you great fans out there? Yeah, I won't let you down. I will show you again. It's the delivery. All delivery systems are different. It was the delivery. It was a throwaway left hook. It was a throwaway, just to distract him, just to divert his eyes there. Oh, bang! The right hand. That's what did it. He didn't see it. That's what dropped him. And then he survived it, and then we get to the second round where Dustin, as my son said, if there's a few more seconds, he might get the real, the fireworks, everything, the way that you want the farewell to be. He might have gotten that. He was so close to getting that. At the end of the day, when I was breaking it down with all those brilliant people like Chael Sonnen and Dominic Cruz and Brett and our director, Charlie Monahan, all those people there, I was saying that Holloway, we knew he was 0-2. So first of all, he had to be like my son. My son's a pretty good golfer for you people that don't know. And to be a good golfer, you got to forget the last shot. Yeah, you put it in the sand. You got to forget. You ever went in a swamp? I saw my son. He had to roll his legs up a little bit. He played high school golf. He had to roll the legs up a little bit and get into that little murky swamp there to get the ball because he's stubborn. He didn't want to get an extra whatever that is stroke. No, he was going in there and say, no, it's not that deep. I could get the ball. At the end of the day, you have to forget. You're going to be great at anything. You have to forget the previous experience where you weren't great. In this case, the experience of the last two fights when Max was in the cage with Dustin Poirier. He lost. So he had to erase that. He erased it. And the first thing I noticed, I'll tell you, it was so clear to me. It was very clear. It was very similar to Shiraz, the fighter, where I saw his attitude coming out before the Belonga fight in Queens a couple weeks ago, where he was just zeroed in. You know what I mean, bud? I mean, when Max came down that tunnel all by himself, because everything, the pomp and circumstance was all about Dustin. We get it. We understand. He deserved it. It was his last fight. But when Holloway, you got a little thing here, Rich. When Holloway was coming down that tunnel, I looked at him and I said, this guy's different. I said to Chael and Dominic, they agreed. I said, he's different. Usually he's smiling, he's a little this guy, I mean, he had a little Darth Vader look to him. You know what I mean? He was, and he's always smiling. I said, wow, he understands where he is. He understands this ain't his party. He understands he's 0-2. He understands this is a crossroads for him. He understands all of it. And he is in DEFCON 1. Yeah, he was, I always say the mental part is the most important part. He was mentally there. I know they're always there, but he was there. Is that fair? He was there. And he came in there, and sure enough, and I had said in the preview with all the guys, the pre-fight stuff, that to be a difference in this fight, Max had to use his legs to box more. You're fighting a puncher. The difference was you had a volume guy, you had a guy that fights in volume, right? He fights with pace. He's always going. He's the motor. He's always throwing, backing you up. It was that versus the power of Dustin. Both of them are spectacular strikers. Both of them, really solid. But it's power versus volume. And I said, if you want to nullify the power, because that's what he's got to think about to make sure he doesn't go 0-3. To nullify the power, he's got to make sure that the power puncher, Dustin, is not set to punch. So for me, in my world, putting the trainer hat on, by the way, I love that hat you got, bud. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful hat. To put my trainer hat on, I said, he's got to move. He's got to move laterally. He's got to keep him off balance. He's got a pot shot. He's got to counter. He's got to attack in spots. Go in, go out. Keep him off balance a little bit. And sure enough, that's what he did. He had a good game plan. He had a spectacular fight plan. Really spectacular. And he, as you said, he won the fight. Whether you want to make it 3-2 or 4-1, it's okay. But he won the fight. It was a great night. And it was just a great tribute to both guys. It was the right fight. It really was the right fight for the last fight for Dustin. A lot of people said, oh, it shouldn't be a trilogy because one guy's up, 2-0. No. This was the right fight. And it was the right thing. Talking about the human part, the character part. And I'll finish with this. It was the right thing for a man who's lived his life doing the right thing, like Dustin, and that's been part of his strength, his character, to give the great Max Holloway, yes, the great, just like Dustin, to give him a chance to get a win after being 0-2, to not go off that way. That was terrific. Like the great Joe Pesci said in My Cousin Vinny in the courtroom, I'm done. I'm done with this guy.